Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. My name is Andrew, coming to you from the beautiful Carolinas. Today's topic is going to be when there is no one left to blame. Think about that for a minute. Everyone, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and share. So blame shifting or blaming, that's something that the narcissist needs to do, wants to do, does, and has to do. Because the narcissist cannot be accountable. They can't introspect. They won't take blame for anything. They will take credit for things that they did or didn't do if they benefited them, but they're not gonna take any responsibility for anything, any of their poor behavior. And that's why so frequently when you are communicating with these people, it doesn't get you anywhere. You are absolutely better off talking to any of the trees behind me than you are talking to a narcissist. Now, why I'm saying that is because when you're communicating with a narcissist, you don't get anywhere. You get word salad, you get blame shifting, you get gaslighting, you get them taking you back in the past 1, 2, 5, 20 years to things that you did or didn't do. And why I say talking to one of the trees behind me would be better, because the tree's not going to talk back to you. And at least you will be heard by a living thing, which is a tree, not by a toxic, narcissistic individual who doesn't want to hear you. They don't want to know anything about you other than how they can manipulate you. So when there's no one left to blame, this is when the narcissistic relationship is coming to an end, or it has ended, because you realize that the narcissist, not only are they not improving and they're not changing and they're not introspecting and not reflecting back on their poor behavior, they're not doing that because they can't do it, but also that the toxicity of the relationship, the weight of the relationship is not only placed on your shoulders, but it's getting quite cumbersome. And you can't take it any longer, and you need to remove yourself from the relationship. Or let's say that you were removed from the relationship. Either way, if the relationship ended and you're out of it, it's a good thing. It's time to start healing. It's time to not take the blame for the relationship. You see, when you were in that narcissistic relationship, first of all, you weren't taught narcissism 101 in school, but second of all, you were giving to a fault. You probably didn't have boundaries. Maybe you didn't say no, the strongest word in the English language, and no is a boundary, and no is a clear, succinct, one-word sentence that means no. And when you say that, you are absolutely helping yourself out, but you couldn't do that in a narcissistic relationship because the narcissist was telling you what they wanted you to do, with whom, when, how, where, what, why, all these things. You were in the devaluation stage. You were existing for the narcissist. You were putting them high up on a pedestal to the detriment of yourself. And I can assure you, when you were in that relationship, you were taking a lot of the blame, even though it was unfounded. Remember, there's an expression, it takes two to tango. So first of all, when you're in the narcissistic relationship, when you met the narcissist, if they gave you the 2-page report and said, here, read this. This is what I'm going to do to you. It's what I've done to many other people before you. And it's what I'll do to people after I end the relationship with you. If they showed you that report and you read about who they are and what they're capable of doing and what they have done, and that they're only going to get worse over time, you would have run for the hills. You would not, and I repeat, not have entered that relationship. But that's not what the narcissist did. They most likely love bombed you or gave you a big, heavy dose of the euphoric stage, and they assimilated themselves with you, and they had you thinking that they were like-minded, that they did have your best interest at heart, and that they did want to grow old with you or create a relationship or whatever you two discussed. But then again, as soon as you said the magic words, I love you, or you moved in with them, or you relocated halfway around the world, or you went into business, whatever you did, that's when the narcissist knew they had you. That's when they pulled back and they weren't nearly as available. And that's when they began to blame you. And they began to blame you so many different ways. Why didn't you do this? Why did you do that? Why are you talking with that person? Why aren't you talking with that person? Why did you make me wait? Why didn't you pick up the phone on the first ring? You know that when I call you, it's extremely important. You have to drop everything you're doing and you have to pick up that phone immediately because I need to get through to you. This is the push-pull technique of the narcissist. It's how they wanted to keep you attached to them. They wanted to toy with you. They are and were a puppet master, a master manipulator, if you will. And what they did is they groomed you and trained you and taught you how to behave and how to jump when they said, how to say how high when they asked you to jump. This is why frequently when you're in the channel, when you were in the relationship, what you would do is if you got a text, you would be dropping everything you did and reply to the text as soon as you possibly could if it came from the narcissist. And sometimes you would get a text from somebody else that wasn't the narcissist and you'd be deflated. It's kind of like when you go to a casino and you put some money in the slot machine and you hit the button and you're hoping to get cherry, cherry, cherry and win the jackpot. Well, that's what it is when you're in the narcissistic relationship. You never know what you're going to get. And so frequently you get lemon, lemon, lemon. You get abuse, abuse, abuse. You don't get the cherry, cherry, cherry. And what I'm saying with the cherry, 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 that's an old school term in the casinos. But what that means is that's when you hit the jackpot. Well, you didn't hit the jackpot with the narcissist. They just strung you along, and they were blaming you more and more for that relationship. So let's think about when the front door would open up and you'd be sitting on the couch, perhaps just decompressing from a long work day. Well, when the narcissist would see you, they'd say, how long have you been home? Why didn't you do the laundry? There are leaves to be raked. Did you cook dinner yet? Did you buy the groceries? Did you feed the dog, etc.? They would pepper you with questions. Or maybe they would just open the front door and act like you're not even there, act like they didn't even see you and give you the silent treatment. And then you would go back to them and say, hey, what's going on? Didn't you see me in the house? And they would be like, oh, I missed you. I was so preoccupied. I'm sorry, I was busy. These are the games of the narcissist, and these games will continue to go on and on and on because the narcissist is stuck in their own loop of manipulation, their own loop of abuse, and their own loop of toxicity. And they captured you for a period of time, which was the length of the relationship, and they placed you in that devaluation stage, a place you did not even know existed, and that's where you were working for the narcissist. That's why on the channel so frequently recently I've mentioned you were the unpaid helper, you were the taxi driver, you were the walking apology, you were the sounding board, you were the person that regulated the narcissist. But back then you didn't know what you were up against. You did not know that the narcissist was abusing you more and more and more and blaming you more and more and more. So let's zoom out for a minute. Let's say that the narcissist that you guys attended an event, maybe it was a barbecue or a holiday or something, and let's say that everything went really well and you had a great night that night or a great day that day. Well, then you would get home and what would happen? Well, it wouldn't be all puppies and rainbows, most likely. It would be you being peppered with why you didn't talk to them longer, why you were talking with that other person, why you didn't do this with this person, etc. They'd be blaming you for your behavior at that event or barbecue. Now, keep this in mind. It's very important. When you're in the narcissistic relationship and you're in it deep, you do lose your identity. You become a shell of yourself, and you become an extension of the narcissist, and they know this because the narcissist wants to control multiple people at any one time, and they will blame you every opportunity they get for being you. Example, let's say you have a high level of empathy. Let's say you were crying at a movie and you were sitting right next to the narcissist as they were on one of their 3 smartphones getting your replacement, i.e. the new supply. Well, maybe you shed a few tears and they will look over at you and say, why are you crying? I don't get it. Like, what's the big deal? It's just a movie. And you'd be like, well, it's emotional and I want to let some tears out and it touched me. Maybe it was the movie Lassie or something, one of these old school movies, who knows? Maybe it's The Little Mermaid, I don't know. Point being is, you did that and they would look at you as weak. They would say, no one cries at these movies. What's your problem? Toughen up. I can't believe you would cry that. That's weak. So what would happen is they would be deflating you and they would be devaluing you for being you. The next time that same movie popped in or a similar one, you'd be sitting next to them again on their on the couch, maybe on their 3 smartphones getting your replacement. And then you would see a sad scene and you would say, well, I can't cry because I'm going to get abused or they're going to say something. So you hold the tears in. See, you can't express yourself. That is how you became an extension of the narcissist. That's how they kept you subservient to them. And the whole time they were blaming you for everything. Why did we get this vacation room? Why did we not get the corner suite? Why do we have just an average room? Why didn't we get the best cabin on the cruise? Why didn't we get first class seats in the airplane? Why does my water at the restaurant have only 2 ice cubes in it when it should have 3? Why is your haircut like that? Your haircut should be something different. Why are you wearing that shirt? That shirt doesn't look good on you. See, they're blaming you and they're devaluing you. And when you are so beaten down in the narcissistic relationship and you're getting hammered with abuse day in and day out, week after week, month after month, year after year, you really become a shell of yourself and something has to give, and the narcissist knows this. And maybe in the back of your mind, you knew it too. You knew something was way off and you couldn't figure it out. Perhaps you were taking notes when you were in that narcissistic relationship on your smartphone, or maybe you were doing some homework on Google or YouTube about things like poor behaviors of my spouse or things like that. And then you got the light bulb moment. If that happened to you when you were in the relationship, you are an extremely fortunate and strong person because you were researching it and you were really persistent when you were in the relationship. Some of us took notes on our smartphones when we were in the relationship, and some of us still have those notes of the poor behavior displayed by the narcissist and all the blaming that took place. And those notes were absolutely imperative because they were illustrating and highlighting that when we were in the relationship, we knew something was off, but we couldn't quite place our finger on it. Then post-narcissistic relationship, perhaps when we were discarded or we ended it ourselves, we've got that light bulb moment. We said, oh my gosh, that's what those notes meant. They were leading me down that trail of education and of empowerment, and they were helping me find out what the answer was to the toxicity of the person I was in the relationship with, i.e. the narcissist. This is a pivotal point in your life when you finally break the curse, you finally break the spell, and you break the chains of the trauma bond and the narcissistic abusive cycle. And that's when you slow your life down. That's when you no longer take the blame for that relationship because it wasn't your fault. The narcissist didn't give you that 2-page report. They were a wolf in sheep's clothing, and what they wanted to do was manipulate you, keep you trapped, and steal all of your resources, which include your time, money, energy, effort, love, empathy, your health, your status, your network, your hobbies, everything, your relationships. This is what they want to do, and this is what they're doing with the new supply right now, or by now maybe there's a new supply, who knows? The narcissist is always on the prowl, searching for the next new shiny object, searching for the next new relationship to enter. And these don't have to be exclusive to romantic. They could be friendships, it could be people in hobby groups, etc. But the narcissist is always wanting what they don't have. And when they get what they want, they don't want it any longer. Think about it. Many times with the narcissist, in the beginning of the relationship, in the love bomb / euphoric stage, you think that they're the best thing since sliced bread, because that is all an illusion. It's meant to trap you in that relationship with them. But as soon as they get you, they pull back. That's when they begin to blame you for everything, and that's when they begin to devalue you. It's the same cycle that goes around and round and round in a loop. When the narcissist has you, they don't want you. See, it's all a game of chase, of catch and release, of capture and release. And that's what the narcissist wants. That's why so frequently when you were in that relationship, you would get a little dose of the love bomb / euphoric stage at times. And why you would get that? Because the narcissist was trying to string you around a little bit longer. They're trying to keep you around longer. Or maybe you were catching on to the scent of the narcissist. Maybe you were getting too close to seeing behind the mask. Maybe you were getting too close to not taking the blame one more time, or once and for all. See, when you put up a boundary with the narcissist, it is not a good thing for them. They can't have boundaries. They need to be able to control people. They need to be able to blame people. And they need to be able to abuse and manipulate people. And that is what you were doing when you were in the relationship. You were the receptacle of all their abuse. You were the person who was getting peppered with it left, right, and center. But then probably one day you put up a boundary and said, I didn't sign up for this. I don't know what's going on here, but you seem to be getting worse, and you're not around in the house any longer, and you're staying away on longer weekends, and every time I text you, you read it, but you don't get back to me. Every time I call you, you don't answer, etc., things like this. And then what would happen is when you would say something like that, and of course you wouldn't call them a narcissist, that's not what we should be doing at all. But back then you would put up a boundary and they would say, what's your problem? And they would start to blame you for anything in the relationship. They would say things like, you're the only person I have a problem with, you're weak, go get help, you need to see a therapist, have thicker skin. I can't believe you would say things like that. And all it does then, when you try to put up a boundary when you're in the relationship with them, is gives them more ammo to slam the door, leave, and go on to the new supply, or to go upstairs or go in a different room and give you the silent treatment for an hour, a day, a week, or a month, or more. See, this is what the narcissist does. They cannot be emotionally stable. They cannot regulate themselves. And when they are pushed and they are absolutely called out, I'm not saying call them a narcissist. I'm saying if you put up a boundary and say, hey, you know, you told me you were going to do A, B, and C, and you didn't. I wasted my whole day again this weekend. What's going on? When you do things like that, they're not going to sit down with you and say, oh my gosh, you're so right. I apologize. I was wrong. What was I thinking? No, they're going to turn around and blame it on you. They're going to say things like, what's your problem? So what? You wasted a whole day, and you wasted a day last week. But what's the big deal? You have time. You're not working. It's your free time. Who cares? See, when they blame you, it doesn't give you support. What it does is it tears you down. And that's what the narcissist wants to do. Remember, the narcissist, when you were in that relationship, they were looking to break that relationship. And they're usually looking to break it once they get what they want from the target, meaning your time, or a beach house, or buy them a car, whatever they want, or the way you make them, give them access to certain things like beach homes or boats or things like that. Once they get what they want, they know they now can discard people, and they now can blame people for any faults in the relationship that they want to create or make up, or maybe one or two things are true. But remember, as I mentioned earlier, it takes two to tango. So when you're in a narcissistic relationship and you don't have the wisdom, you're being abused left, right, and center. Now, post-relationship, once you've healed and you look back at the relationship, did you make some mistakes in it? Absolutely, we all do. We're human beings. But you didn't know what you were up against, and the narcissist did know what they were doing to you. The narcissist is a predator, and they want to continue to use recycled sources of supply who haven't healed, and they want to find new shiny objects, maybe even empaths who don't know the narcissistic abusive cycle. What they don't want is for you to heal. What they don't want is for you to learn, to grow, to become awakened and aware, educated, and empowered. And they don't want you to go no contact and block them, but that's what you must do. You see, your energy will return once you stop taking the blame for the relationship. Your finances will return once you go no contact and you block these people and you really slow your life down. Your health will return. Your network of friends, they won't return necessarily. Some of them may. Maybe you'll have to rebuild some former relationships, but you'll most likely have to rebuild brand new relationships. But all these things I'm mentioning to you, this is how the narcissist does, and this is how they blame people. And eventually what will happen is eventually with the narcissist, there will be no one left to blame, because their kids won't talk to them any longer. Their parents won't talk to them any longer. Their romantic relationships have all blocked them and gone no contact. The flying monkeys have woken up, and nobody wants to be around the narcissist, not one person. And everybody will say, nope, I'm not taking the blame any longer. You've dumped so many things on me. You've lied to me. You've manipulated me. You have cheated on me. You've stolen from me, and I'm not taking this any longer. I now know who you are. I see behind the mask. And that's when the narcissist will be left alone, isolated on that tiny little desert island without a smartphone, but nothing but a roof or palm trees and water and food. And they will have to think about all the damage they've inflicted upon all the unsuspecting people in their lives and people who actually cared about them. But this is what happens with the narcissist. Eventually, people catch on to them. Eventually, there is no one left to blame. Eventually, the narcissist will have to look in the mirror and say, oh my gosh, not only am I the aging narcissist and I'm not a pretty sight to see, but I really did damage to people. And not just one person, not 10. Every relationship I encountered, I either took from these people, or I ghosted them, or I discarded them, or I manipulated them. And those games all come to a close. They all wind down eventually for the narcissist. And eventually, like I'm sharing before I close the video, there will be no one left to blame but themselves. Now, will the narcissist actually take responsibility and take the blame? No, they're not going to do that. But there is a heavy price to pay for the narcissist. It may not happen today. It may not happen tomorrow. But believe me when I tell you, there is positive energy on the planet and there's negative energy. And what goes around comes around. And the narcissist one day will meet their match. I don't know how, I don't know when, and I don't care. I don't want to be around to know anything about it. But when there's no one left to blame and you've healed and you've processed everything and you're now in a much better vibrational state, you're at the pinnacle of indifference, the mountaintop of indifference, that's a good thing. You took a long time to climb up that mountain and you accomplished it and you're there. You're standing right beside me. The narcissist is way below your shoe, way at the bottom on the desert plains, on that little island, isolated all by themselves, thinking about all the misery, all the destruction, and all the broken dreams and relationships that they devastated. That's their price to pay for being themselves, because they can't be accountable and they're always looking for someone else to blame. But the blame games are over. You are accepting no longer blame from anybody about anything, because you are now living your best life. I hope you liked the video. I loved doing it from the beautiful Carolinas. This is Andrew. Namaste. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, no matter where you are on the planet. You are not alone. Remember that. You are not alone. God bless you all. I love you. And remember, when there's no one left to blame, that's when the narcissist really has to look in the mirror. Maybe they're driving on the freeway right now and they're listening to this because they're trying to get wisdom from an empath, which is me, and they're looking at the rearview mirror and saying, oh my God, this guy's right. I really don't have anyone left to blame but myself. Maybe that did happen. Maybe it's happening right now. I can't tell you. What I do know is the narcissist can't introspect. They can't change. They only deteriorate over time. So the path is to go no contact, block them, delete them, remove all flying monkeys and people associated with them. If not now, when? I love you all. God bless you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right, bye.